Hi, I'm Prem Vishwanathan, and I'm Head of Sales for Telco and Media here at Kinetica. And today we're going to talk to you about telco use cases and AI. There are many use cases out there where AI meets telco, but today we're going to focus on network troubleshooting. If you look at the use case where an engineer has to fix a problem in the network, there's a bunch of steps that have to happen. An engineer would typically gather logs or traces, PCAP files, ingest them into something like Wireshark, which is a very popular tool, obviously, for troubleshooting. And then the detective work begins. You start to look at every single packet that's going through, the analyzer. You start to look for error messages. You cross-check with vendor documentation, protocol specifications. You might have a knowledge base consisting of typical issues that your colleagues have faced, etc. And you're trying to connect the dots, basically. That process is quite time-consuming, even for people who are quite experienced and have the scars on their backs. So we at Kinetica were wondering, is there a way that we can leverage AI to essentially make this process that much quicker and help an engineer be 10x more productive? And that's what we've done. So we've come up with a conversational AI solution to do this kind of network troubleshooting. So what you see on the left is conversational interface where you can ask questions and the the large language models will give you an answer, and then you can ask another question and it maintains context. So it remembers the previous questions that were asked, and it's like having a conversation with your data. Some things to point out in our solution, which separated from some of the other alternatives that are out there. Number one, we have a GPU accelerated database that is powering the whole solution. So that gives you orders of magnitude improvement in performance compared to other alternatives. The second point that's also worth pointing out is that this solution is both vendor agnostic and protocol agnostic. So whether you're looking at the 5G core or 5G RAN, or you're looking at a BGP use case for an IP network or a cybersecurity use case, the equipment can be from vendor X, vendor Y, it doesn't matter. This solution is able to take that data in, apply the large language models to analyze the information, and provide you suggestions for root cause analysis. And at this point, we would like to demo the solution to you, so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Aaron.
Today, I'm going to be walking you through a demonstration of a generative AI telecommunications network troubleshooting assistant that has been built in cooperation between Dell, NVIDIA, and Kinetica. So what might an analyst want to do? Well, the first thing we might want to do is just say, give me a detailed analysis of my data. Now, what's going on behind the scenes here is that we have an advanced planning and execution agent that is breaking up the question into multiple different tasks, and it's deciding which different tools it has available to it for answering the question. So, for example, it can pull data via an SQL query from Kinetica's tabular representation of the data. It can research different 3GPP standards, networking protocol standards, and other things that are also stored in Kinetica in an unstructured format and available for search. We also have the ability to access a number of other different resources, including external data sources and general internet resources as well. Now, you'll notice that when I said, give me a detailed analysis of my data, I didn't say, give me a chart. I didn't say, give me a summarization of the data. The LLM has already been instructed in best practices for analysis. So it can say, here we have a chart that allows us to take a look at the data. We can talk about the 3GP standards that are involved. We can say, we have the SIP protocol involved here, right? We can see what IP addresses are involved, all those kinds of things. Now, we could also ask what errors are in my data. And when we do that, we're looking at all this data, bringing it together in one cohesive answer that makes the analyst's life a lot easier and a lot simpler and a lot more efficient. Because instead of navigating to troubleshooting websites like Stack Overflow that give you information about coding problems and different answers over time that have been given to them, or an internal ticketing system, or an internal knowledge base that allows you to look up the different 3GPP standards and other protocol-related standards. Instead, we have one interface which reduces the amount of context switching that an analyst has to do, and that context switching can be quite expensive over the course of an 8 or a 10 or a 12-hour workday, depending on the analyst's shift schedule. Now you'll see here that we asked about what errors were in the data. And you can see here that we've gone through, we've taken a look, we've pulled information about 3GPP standards so we know what the errors come from. And we've also pulled back a list and said, hey, these are the 3 errors that we found within the data. So we'll just grab the last one and we'll say what might cause a 489 SIP error code. And again, behind the scenes, we're looking up different information from the 3GPP standards, and we're able to get a summary of that information that quickly. So when an analyst is expected to work through a number of different tickets in the day, what we've seen with existing customers is somewhere between a 70, an 80, even an 85% increase in the amount of time that they can spend doing this type of analysis with a number of additional tickets and things like that to be analyzed. And the reason for that is simple, right? It's not hyperbole. It's just that you can go in, you can ask a question, so you don't have to think of what the SQL query might need to be. It just does it for you. You don't need to go to a dashboard to go create a chart from the data. You don't need to go digging through a PCAP file in Wireshark to tell you which errors are present. And you don't need to go to another site to go look up what a 489 SIP error code is. That's simply there and available to you all in one place, all at once. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll speak to you later.